Hi, my name is Egan Barzilay, and I'm with the Community Internship Project at LTV. I'm with my guest, Marta Blanco. She is a bilingual senior nutritionist with the Cornell Cooperative Extension of Suffolk County. Marta, thank you for meeting with me today to discuss food insecurity on the East End of Long Island.
It's a pleasure, Egan. Thank you for inviting me.
So, before we begin, can you just give a brief definition of what food insecurity is?
Yes, Ian, certainly. So it's basically when we are uncertain of where the next meal is going to come from. But the United States Department of Agriculture defines food insecurity as the lack of consistent access to nutritious food. And this could be for a short period of time or a more prolonged period of time. And this disruption in the meal pattern is going to affect the health status and also the emotional and psychological effect of a person or a community that is food insecure. And also, it is important to highlight that these individuals are more likely to eat less nutritious food or fruits and vegetables, and also they tend to increase the consumption of very processed foods because sadly they're readily available in the community and sometimes they're even less expensive than more nutritious options.
And how exactly does it manifest itself on Long Island?
Well, the according to Long Island Cares data, 1 in 4 individuals in Long Island is food insecure, and I think it is safe to say that with the pandemic, that problem, resurfaced in a way that many people were surprised, and others not, which work closely with these communities. But it has changed the perception of food insecurity because you can have a family member who had never suffered from food insecurity and because of the pandemic maybe they lost their job or they lost a person who was the person who provided the main income in the household, and this tends to obviously affect short or long term process of acquiring food. So the economic challenges that these people faced came to resurface during the pandemic. So a lot of the food pantries saw a very significant increase. Even some were reflecting either triple or quadruple the amount of participants that were in need of access to healthier options and just basically put food on the table.
And when you mentioned the pandemic, were there any particular groups that were affected more than others?
Sure, that's very important, Egan, that you asked that question because approximately 70% of those who are hungry in Long Island are communities, minority communities, and we have a diverse population in Long Island and sure enough in the East End. And, they also face other challenges such as education, they face transportation, economic barriers. Here there's also seasonal jobs, which, put a burden on these families as well. So also, there's the elderly who make up like the 4% of the Long Island community, and also the homeless or victims of abuse, about 6%. So, all these different groups and minority communities were highly affected. Now, some of them were already food insecure before the pandemic, so imagine putting that extra burden on them, right? And also, others were never food insecure and became food insecure as a result of these challenges.
So, can you tell me a little bit about your work with SNAP Ed and how this helps address food insecurity?
Yes, so one of the major issues that SNAP-Ed program does throughout the United States and specifically in Long Island is address food insecurity. So the SNAP-Ed program, and ED stands for education, is the education component of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. So this is formerly known as the Food Stamp Program. So we are like the sister program. SNAP-Ed is like the sister program of the SNAP program. So it's a little bit, a lot of words there. But this is a program that is federally funded, and basically we provide education to the community that needs more nutrition knowledge and also skills in order to live a better, healthier life. And we do this by providing direct nutrition education, like in the traditional workshop form. We do currently virtual and in person, but we also do a lot of teaching by demonstrating through cooking skills and just tasting, and I always tell participants it's not nutritious until you eat it, right? So you can have all the knowledge, but if you need that skill to bring that nutritious food. And we often see associated that communities that suffer food insecurity also are coupled with other medical underlying conditions, such as obesity or hypertension, any cardiovascular disease, diabetes. These are very common illnesses in our community. And if you think about, you don't have nutritious food, right? I just told you that they had less access to fresh fruits and vegetables or whole grains, and then you have an underlying condition, and at the same time you're struggling economic wise, right? So putting food in your table can be a very big challenge for these communities.
Yeah, and they do say food is the best medicine, so.
Correct. Yes, exactly. You have to start by that, right?
Yeah. So, what benefits and services are available in our community for people who are food insecure?
Um, so there are a few, like I said, SNAP, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, is the sister program for our program from the educational component. So families that are eligible that have children who are born in the United States or that are residents of the United States can log into the SNAP website, and I'm just going to read it. It's the otda.newyork.gov/SNAP/COVID-19. So they can apply. The application is available in multiple languages, so they can always ask help for that. Also, they can call their local food pantry or the local food banks, Long Island Cares or Island Harvest. They can also help them with the application on that. Um, Also, for mothers of children who are under 5 years old or mothers who are expecting, and there's no, for this, they can apply for the WIC program, which is the Women, Infant, and Children program. There's immigration status is not a concern with the WIC program. They can also receive supplemental assistance. And lastly, we have also the food pantries, which I think, in your case, you share with me that the East Hampton School has a food pantry. And I think food pantries are a wonderful source for the community. They are full of, I call them my heroes because they're the ones who are making everything possible so that the community has access to increased food availability. And, a lot of volunteers and coordinators work there. And from what I gather, your youth population as well. So I think it's great. Egan, I also wanted to highlight that there are other community agencies in the East End that are supporting this food insecurity problem. And, local farmers also are helping the food pantries, providing fresh fruits and vegetables, and other agencies that help in the logistic and the distribution of food to meet the needs of the community.
So, do you feel that there's enough of these services in our community?
Well, I think many of us thought that we had enough of these services, right? But as I said before, because of the pandemic, I think we felt we were shorthanded. And one of the things that got my attention was when I heard that the John Bon Jovi Soul Foundation came to East Hampton to help with the access and the distribution of foods to help the food pantries, right? Because they were meeting, they had the increase of 3 or 4 times the amount of participants that they had. So I think them and along everybody who stepped in, people who had never even known that there was a food pantry close to their community, they were accessing that and wanting to volunteer or donate. So I think the need of the community is fluid. It depends on what if there's a natural disaster, there's an economic challenge, environmental aspects of it, and also personal social context, right? That would change. So I think we should always be mindful about that and make sure that families don't experience food insecurity, and if they do, it's for a very short time.
And is there a large stigma that prevents people from seeking the help they need who are food insecure?
Yes, definitely. I think there is. And like I said before, if you see at the dynamics of the food pantries now, it's very different than it was, I would say, in the last 10 years. It has changed. Where I think food pantries they've always done a great job and they've always tried to help the community. But I think because the community is more aware of the situation, they are empowering the food pantries with more options, more financial options too, and more collaboration. So food pantries are now almost like mini corner stores or mini tiny supermarkets where you walk in them and there are shelves and there are, we helped also highlight what are foods that are low in carbohydrate or what are high in fiber, what are low in sodium, because that will give the participants also the choice of, if they have diabetes, if they have hypertension, they can say, I can go to the food pantry and get healthy food options, right? So I think, a lot of people, a lot of families have never experienced food insecurity in their home countries, but they come to this country, and because of the challenges I've mentioned, they are faced with that. So that there could be a stigma, there is shame, there is just a barrier of language, or also there's also the misconception, I'm only going to get junk food, right? Or I'm only going to get canned food. Well, you know what? You can do many great meals with the appropriate canned food. And like I said, pantries are really doing a great job on bringing these healthier options, and the community has to be in more support of that.
Do you have any policy or recommendations that you'd like to share with me and our audience today?
Well, I think we all need to become aware of the real problem that our own communities, and be sensitive and be ready to help. Just like your school stepped in to be ready to help when they saw the need. And I think, food drives, whether it's through the faith-based organization or the food banks, the postal, the Boy Scouts, there's many communities. And I always remember, when you go to your local supermarket and there's people, Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts standing outside and saying, hey, when you come outside. So be mindful, and as you step into the supermarket, say, I'm going to buy some extra whole grains. I'm going to buy some extra low sodium canned products, or, healthier versions, so I can donate to the Girl or Boy Scout that is outside, right? Or, so I think just the community needs to step up. I think the pantries and the volunteers have done their job and continue to do so, but I think the community overall needs to step up and just continue to be aware, not only during the pandemic, but also in the future.
I mean, being a student like myself, I didn't really realize how much of an issue food insecurity was. And do you think there's anything that students like myself can do to take action on this issue?
I think exactly what you're doing, bringing more awareness to your student population, to the youth, actively engaging in food pantries, trying to make the experience with dignified and a lot of sensitivity, trying to make it cultural relevant. There is a need of to serve that diverse community, so we have to make sure we preserve those traditions and the habits that the community need has. So we can make the experience for someone to go to the food pantry, exciting and appealing, and why not fun, right? Like if a student, you're doing a food demonstration, or you're doing a healthy smoothie or a fruit salad, right? And another student comes and sees you and wants to get engaged with that. That's how you learn, and that's how you normalize, right? Because we're all going to have a need one way or another, right? Our life can change from one day to the next. So we just have to make sure that we're all in this together.
Is there anything that you'd like to address in our talk today that we missed?
Well, I would just make a call for everyone to continue supporting their local food pantry, the local food drives, and also, you're never too young or too old to start helping. And just remember, food is a necessity. It's medicine, as you well said. So I think this is where we need to, do our jobs as individuals for our community.
Marta, thank you for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you for having me.